Hi guys, welcome back to Teen Reads, and this month we discuss the hero's journey. If this is your first introduction to it, I highly recommend that you Google Hero's Journey, Joseph Campbell. He's kind of the Mac Daddy of all of it, and you'll get some really cool illustrations about the cyclical nature of what a hero's journey is. For those of you who have seen Star Wars, and if you have not seen Star Wars, I have no idea where you have been. But Star Wars is really a great introduction for understanding how the hero's journey works. So this month we were reading Hero's Journey. I actually ended up reading two books, but I'm only going to talk about one. One of the books I read was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. It's not a YA book, but it is an awesome book. And then I read one that is for young adults, and it is called Racine, The Night of the Lion. This is a retelling of a King Arthur legend, a classic tale. And when most of us think of heroes, we do tend to think of like knights in shining armors or Superman, you know, able to go to the top of buildings, rescue those damsels in distress. That's sort of a typical hero, I think, what most of us think about. But what I hope that you were thinking about when you were reading your book about a hero's journey is, what is it that makes a hero? And I hope that you continue to think about that, because when I read American Gods, the hero in that book, ex-con. So sometimes our heroes come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. What Joseph Campbell does, and what you find out in A Hero's Journey, is that it is about the journey, and that is what it is that makes a hero. So first of all, and again, I'm going to go ahead and allude to Star Wars, we have our hero, and they're called onto a journey, and that's what happens to Yvain in my book. And he's eager to go on his journey, but sometimes they're not always eager to go onto their journeys. And so it depends on what happened in your book. But he's eager to go onto his journey, and I'm not going to tell too much in case you want to read it. Mine happens to be, by the way, a graphic novel. Pretty cool rendition, and it wasn't just M.T. Anderson, of course. The illustrator was Andrea Offerman. And so he goes on this journey, okay? He slays the beast. I'm not going to tell you what exactly it is in case you want to read it. But there's always this temptation, okay? He's got his Yoda, okay? He's got his sorceress. He's got his Obi-Wan Kenobi that's going to give him some advice. He listens to the advice, but not enough, okay? That happens in real life too, right? You got someone yakking at you, telling you what you should do. Sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't. But he's tempted. So he's got his good old buddy, his cousin Gawain, okay, who's also a knight at Arthur's Round Table, who says, hey man, I know you just married this really hot chick, but let's go and do these tournaments because we could have fun, we could party, you could get some money. And he gives into the temptation. And this is part of the hero's journey. So he gives into the temptation, he goes, and then he has that moment when he realizes, crap, I shouldn't have done it. And it's too late now, okay? So now he's got to go through this realization, this moment of, what do I do now? And at least in this case, for Yvain, okay, he goes through this like existential crisis. He becomes a literal like wild man, okay? I'm seriously going to show you these wild man moments. I mean, look at this. He's like eating the heart of something. I have no idea what he's doing here. It doesn't look good. This is not a good look for our man, okay? But he is, look at, he hated himself most of all. He wished he could disappear. This is typical for the hero. He has reached his bottom, okay? This is it. And then he has that moment where he suddenly changes his life. And for him, it's when he comes across, and I just love this illustration, this battle in which there is a lion and a dragon fighting to death. And he sees that there are all of these swords and armor laying about. You know, there's no men, which means that they've probably been eaten, they're killed, they try to battle the dragon. And he straps it on, man. He is going to war, and he starts to fight. And, of course, he slays the dragon, okay? He is the knight, he is the hero. And when he turns to go and look at the lion, like he's getting ready to kill the lion, right? Here it is, here's the moment, guys. The lion bows to him. And this is why he is, of course, the Knight of the Lion. So, when that moment happens, he ends up going on all these different journeys, lots of them, lots of battles. And the lion is at his side, and the lion plays a key role in assisting him. And it's almost like this is his redemption, and that is part of the hero's journey too. And he does eventually make it home again. But here is the key thing. It's about the journey, right? Once you finish with your journey, you're not the same person as when you started out. Okay, so like Luke Skywalker, right? He goes on his journey. He finds out, spoiler, spoiler, who is Darth Vader, right? I'm not going to completely give it away in case you haven't seen it. Please go see it, because where have you been? But he can't be the same person he was when he first started off. And that's the whole point of what it means to take such a journey. So what I'd like you to ask yourself, if you haven't yet, is, what does it take to be a hero? Are you perfect? No. And are there heroes in everyday society? And if you yourself were asked to go on such a journey, knowing that when you come back you wouldn't be the same, would you? And what kind of journey would you choose to undertake? And would you make those same kind of choices? Would you be tempted? Would you ignore those temptations? Those are things that we also have to face every day in our own lives. So the hero's journey in many ways is our own journey. Not Neil Gaiman, but actually Joseph Campbell once says that we are the heroes in our own journeys, in our own lives. So I'd like you to think of that every time you pick up a book and read about another hero's journey. Thanks for joining me.